Alright, I've opened all my files. I've into a folder. Now the very first activity will be to open the IPO chart 2 document, the Word document. You see up here, IPO chart 2. I've called mine demo just for demo purposes, but you guys will have IPO chart 2 doc. Now what they want you to do is to complete this IPO chart. Now we know if you're designing IPO chart, remember input, processing, output, you actually work backwards. So we're looking at outputs. The outputs are the requirements which have been detailed by the customer. So the customer would have asked for these particular items, and we have to go back to the office with the team and figure out how to process, or what will be the processing or the formulas and so forth that we use to calculate this output. And then with the processing, you would look at your processing information and say, what are the inputs? So like, what are the X, Y, Z's that we need for this function, the functionality to happen, and they would be listed here. So X, Y, Z, whatever you have to get from input. So you'd send someone off in the office and say, hey, get me all this data so we can put it into this processing, which might be on a computer program, website, or something rather, to create this output for the customer. So go ahead, give it a go. First off, I actually before I say, because we want you to try and fill these in best you know before you look at the solution, right? So just to give you a hint, these guys here are what the customer asked for, right? 1, 2, 3 items that the customer asked for. And if you have a look at the question here, you'll actually see that the first item is the first paragraph, second item is the second, and the last is the last paragraph, right? So in here we're actually looking for the commission paid to each one of the consultants. And you actually have a look here. It says what is the commission paid to all the brokers. They keep changing the words on us, but anyway. And here, what is the bonus that's actually being accrued by the broker? And you actually see here, do they get a bonus if they've gone over $1 million? If they are, 150 is paid, $150 is paid as a bonus. And I'll leave it up to you to see what is the last thing. What would you put in for the last item down here, which calculates some kind of bonus calculations. And to remember, here is a table. And what do we use tables for? Now we actually should be familiar with VLOOKUP, right? So we're actually going to be using this, and you don't have to necessarily say VLOOKUP in your answers, because remember, we don't want functions which specify a particular type of system that will have to be designed on. We would say here we would use table to look up values. So we wouldn't say, oh, we will use a VLOOKUP function. Otherwise, that makes us specific to Excel, and we don't want to do that. What we want to do is pass this IPO design to someone, and they could use a website, PHP, ASP, C++, some other sort of language to create this, not necessarily just for Excel, right? But that's why you'll actually see here, they'll actually say lookup, not VLOOKUP. So they stay away from using specifics like references, absolute references, and so forth, right? So go ahead, give it a go, and don't look at the answers until you finish this, right? Okay, see you guys.